Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jess, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Okay guys, I am really phenomenally excited because today I am bringing you somebody who I met in person for the first time recently, but who I've been seeing around on the internet. You know, like when you're part of those kind of clubs and you see cool people and you're like, I should get in touch with them. And then you never do because life. Today I am bringing you the amazing Luria Petrucci onto the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Everybody screws up my name, which is why I went by an alias for like 10 years. It's Petrucci. With Italians, apparently you have to like add a chi to it with 2 C's.
You know what? I was debating that. I was like, Petrucci. And then I heard Chris Ducker say it when we were at Upreneur, and I was like, I just don't like that. I was like, maybe it's Petrucci. So
That's awesome.
That, and I'm just going to diss all of those generations of Italians who are like, no, this is how you say it, and be like, screw it. I'm just going to say what I want.
Hey, I say go for it. Just call me whatever you want.
Exactly. My mother still calls me Oi. Like, I haven't rest yet. Seriously though, it's so awesome to have you here because you came and you spoke on the stage at Upreneur about live streaming, and you are the live streaming pro when it comes to online marketing, and you've built this massive audience in a really short space of time. Like your business growth has been phenomenal. And I kept seeing you around the internet, and we were in the screw and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I need to get in touch with her. And then didn't. And then obviously Chris brought you in for Upreneur, and at the speaker dinner, I was like, yay, there's somebody that I know, and I'm not just the like lame kid at the bar who knows nobody.
I felt the same way, just for the record. I was like,
it's so weird.
I don't know anyone here.
That's the thing. So behind the scenes, guys, you know, we're sat there at speaker dinner, there me and Luria, and then like everybody else knew each other. And so it was one of those things where everyone was like, oh, hi, so-and-so. And I was just like, hi, everybody that I don't know yet.
This is where my shyness like totally kicks in. I used to be the shyest person you've probably ever met. Kids in school called me a snob because I wouldn't talk to anybody, but I just didn't know how. Like I had no social capability whatsoever. So doing live video for like 13 years is weird based on that. But you know, that's where that kicks in again for me. I'm like,
my boyfriend's like that, and people are always like, is your boyfriend shy or just rude? And I'm like, oh, rude. I just tell people he's rude, and he's like, I'm really not. And I'm like, no, but it's funnier when I say that you are.
I love you.
Horrible person. So tell everybody what you do. Like, what's the formal bio of how you are spending your days?
So I actually started with video as one of the very first video podcasters back in 2005 when Apple released their first video iPod. 2 years later in 2007, I started doing live video from mobile phones, which you didn't know you could do back then. There was only one phone that you could do it from. But I also did in studio, like really super professional, high-end technology to do like live video on a weekly basis to my audience that I had already grown. And so, you know, I was doing that. And then as my sponsors and people who I worked with got wind of like what I was doing with live, I started working very heavily with companies like Panasonic and AT&T and Samsung to either host or produce their live videos. And the reason that they would have me, because they knew, which is the same truth for everybody, that you have to connect with your audience. Mm-hmm. Right? In some way, some form. There are many ways to connect with your audience, but you know, live video is one of the most powerful ways to do that. And so that's why they had me as a brand ambassador, if you will, so that I could connect with their audience on their behalf, right? And so then, you know, we started producing high-end stuff for, you know, other companies and GoDaddy and helping them set up their live video studios. And working with like Michael Hyatt and Pat Flynn and Amy Porterfield and all these amazing people, and helping them get their live video studios set up so that they could connect with their audience on a deeper level as well. So that's me. I help you create, live video that looks professional but has massive personality.
This is awesome though, isn't it? Because, and it's funny, one of the things that I've learned over the last few months, because I got really cynical in the online world. I started thinking, right, everyone had just one day decided to set up a business, because that's how it felt. It started to feel like, oh my God, people were just popping up and they would create a Facebook page and suddenly it was, I'm the next big thing in Bitcoin or whatever. Again, very cynical about cryptocurrency too. It's one of those things where it didn't feel like people were putting in the reps, but they were expecting to have huge businesses and not put in the work. And yet you've just said 13 years in live streaming, working for huge companies. And people probably don't assume that companies like Panasonic or Samsung or AT&T, they even had video capability. They don't think about it, because we don't. We just see an advert on TV. We don't think about any other capacity that those businesses have or want.
You're right. Like, you can get very cynical because there are so many people who are just like, yeah, I'll just do this thing. And I got into it because it was a kind of a natural progression. I had actually had a bad business partner split up. It was a horrible year. And I learned about this ability to, teach what and make a business out of it. I was like, wow, that sounds awesome. I love sharing my knowledge. And, people have always asked me, like, how do you do what you do? Right. And so I started this version of my business based on that transition. And it has been damn difficult, right? Yeah. You have all of these things, these people, like you've been talking about, like you have all these people telling you do this and do that. And this is the way it's done. And this is the way it's done. And oh my gosh, this and this. And I wound up doing all the things.
At least it's not just me.
No, of course not. And I know you were kind of taking it a different way, but I'm going to stick on this because I feel like it's such an important conversation that you're having, because people need to focus. And when you focus, you get better results, right? And when you are doing all the things, my business wound up in just a big mess behind the scenes because the systems were all over the place. My product line was all over the place. And, I've fixed that now, but wow, like it's so easy to get caught up in all the things that you're supposed to be doing. And, everybody does talk consistently about video and how important that is. And I fully believe that is a very important thing going forward, because the consumers have talked, right? The consumers are very adamant about being able to connect to the people that they buy from. And that's where this video is being driven by, is them, because they see the possibilities, right? They see like the social connection and the video connection and the live video connection. And they don't want to buy from people that aren't willing to play that game. But I mean, is it possible? Somebody was asking me at a lunch the other day, like, is it possible? It's like, yeah, it's possible. But you have to make the right decision for what who you are and what your brand is and where you're going in the future, what your goals are. I also think that people make, an excuse to say, well, I'm not good on video, so that's probably not for me.
But it's so interesting you say that, because I've watched in 2018 and people have talked about video, and the thing that I always hear people say is, oh, well, I'm scared, or I won't look right on video, or I don't want to do that. And my whole thing behind having a podcast, frankly, is because I'm too lazy to put makeup on and go on YouTube. But I did 400 hours worth of live stream video in my Facebook group in 2017. And it was great. And I loved it and I had a great time and I made a ton of money doing it. And so when people come to me with this, I'm like, you don't necessarily have to. That's the beauty of live video, is that people like to see the behind the scenes, right? We like to get a peek behind the curtain. And I think in 2018, there were just some great examples of that, because we had the lady in the Chewbacca mask. Who was it? Yeah. The woman who went and mom. She did the live stream with that Chewbacca face on. And it was viral, absolutely viral. But she's now getting tons of sponsorship. She's making a lot of money because she was somebody who figured out a live video function on her phone and found something that she just found innately funny. And it spiraled this whole thing. And again, there are so many, reviewers. There's a woman here in the UK called Antonella. She's hilarious. And I watch her beauty reviews. And she reviewed the black, like charcoal face peel off face mask thing. The one that apparently rips out all of your face hairs at the same time.
I need to be more of a girl. I had no idea about this.
I saw it on Facebook because my friends tagged me in it. And it's hilarious. There's all these people like peeling these things off. But she is the first person who just ripped it off and was like, oh my God, my face is on fire. Like, I was really honest about it. But she's now paid by a lot of beauty brands to honestly review their products. And I think that it is this idea that, somewhere along the line, we've kind of started to feel like video has to be perfect. And that's the joy of live streaming, right? You don't.
Well, so there are two ways to look at live, right? And so first and foremost, guys, like if you are feeling like you have to be perfect, which I hear you, I'm a perfectionist too, right? I get it. And I have gone through the same emotions, but people want to connect with people. And Seth Godin actually said something recently on a podcast interview where he was talking about, different, like, no, it wasn't Seth Godin. I'm sorry. I was listening to Seth and then another interview. Totally screwed that up. My apologies, Seth.
We just somebody else for something you didn't do.
Somebody else said, it was on an Amy Porterfield interview, that she comes from the filmmaking world. And she was like, there's a reason that you connect with characters in TV shows and movies, and they have flaws. Right? They're not perfect. The people who are perfect, let's say like you go into like the Pitch Perfect kind of movies, and there are those perfect characters who are like all proper and all perfect and look good all the time. Those are the people you hate. If you put it into perspective, those are the people you actually don't connect with and are the villains in the storytelling, right? And so the people that you connect with, the people that you love, the people that you cheer on in a drama or a movie or a romantic comedy or whatever, is the people who have flaws and who are trying to overcome something. And she was taking it in a completely different direction. But my point with that, it was like yes, this is a great way to explain it, because you've got to show your flaws. You've got to be imperfect in order for people to connect with you.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to think that they're listening to somebody who's better than them.
Well, yeah. And I think if you put someone on a pedestal, there's a lot of room to knock them down. Like, and people, we talk about this, I think some people call it like tall poppy syndrome. But I've always found this, right? If you put yourself on a pedestal and you try and put yourself above everybody else, you're going to find there are way more people who want to pull you down than there are people who are like, yay, on your journey, cheerleading you and 100% behind what you're trying to do.
Yeah. So there are two kinds of live video that you can create. And this combination is really actually pretty important. So you can do professional live video that looks good and doesn't have to be like all out like TV quality studio like I do. But as long as you're putting effort into the type of video that you're using, and it has a layer of professionalism visually, not with your personality, but visually, it actually builds credibility very quickly, right? Because it's instant credibility, because people pop on, they're like, oh, this person must know what they're talking about. They look good, right? So there's that. And with a regular weekly show, if that's the type of content that you choose to create on live video, that can be a really powerful lead gen, strategy. It can be a very good way to increase your reputation in your industry. The second type of live video is what I call live streams. These are done from your phone, and these are raw. These are meant to be random, not scheduled. They're meant to be personal, bring people along in the journey of your life. And this is where it gets complicated in people's brains is they're like, what, but I'm a business. They're following me for my information. No, they're following you because they like you and they want to know you. So you bring them along, you get a new puppy. Great. Show them your new puppy. You get, you go to the farmer's market. Great. Talk to them about the food that you eat, or if you're, there's all kinds of things that you can do from a personal perspective that can be really super beneficial using your phone, using live streams to connect with people on a deeper level. And you can also use live streams to use them as a promotional tool for a launch or for other things that you're doing, to get them to show up to your podcast, to get them to show up to your live show. Any tool that you want, like, or anything that you want to promote to, you can use those very strategically.
I really like that because I've recently got on board with Instagram stories. Now, I'm like a Luddite when it comes to technology. I basically avoid all new things apart from, Facebook, because they do make so many changes. I just consider it new every time I log in. But I've got on board with this Instagram stories thing, and it's been amazing. I've been doing it for a couple of weeks, just kind of being like, oh yeah, here you go. Here's the house. Here's my dog walk. Here's this. Here's that. And people have been so interested in it. And I think one of the things that I had to overcome was this: am I being like, is it really vulgar? Because I'm British, so we're very reserved and stiff upper lip. But is it really vulgar to expect people to be interested in my life? Like, is that a thing? Because I'm not Kim Kardashian. Like, nobody cares what I do, or that's what I thought. But actually the response to it has been huge.
Yeah. So Amy Porterfield had this aha moment with some stuff that she's been doing over the last year. She's been really
she's been stepping out on video.
Yes, she really has. And I love to see it so much because she is such an amazing personality and people really love her as a person already through her podcast, right? The fact that she's bringing her personality out anyway is just amazing. But she had an episode with her husband, Hobie, and she was shocked that it was one of the most popular episodes she'd done. And I was like, what are you talking about? Of course it's the most popular episode. It's your life. It's your husband. It's still like a sneak peek behind the scenes of this woman that people just adore, right? That's just an example. But yes, it's not vulgar or vain. Vulgar? Did you say vulgar? No, you didn't say vulgar.
I went with vulgar.
Okay. When I said it, it sounded wrong. When you said it, it sounded right.
It's the accent. It's British. Apparently, it makes everything
sounds great. No, but to me, the word would be vain. But no, it's not at all, because it's about creating conversations. One of the biggest problems that people have with live video is engagement. And Facebook, especially, requires you now to get engagement in order to get more reach. One of the ways that you're going to get engagement is not by asking the right value-oriented questions that have exactly to do with the content that you're creating. The best way is what I call engagement triggers, where people are connecting or talking about something that's completely random, completely personal, dogs, cats, kids, food. It's okay to work that stuff in. And it's actually a must these days.
And I think that's really nice, because one of the things that we're always saying on the podcast is people buy from people. And that's something you've reiterated here. It's all about that idea of connection. And that's ultimately what makes your business grow so much quicker, because you're buying into not just what can this person teach me or what information can they provide, but actually, who are they as a person? Like, are they a good person? Do I want to buy from them? Do I trust them? Can I look into their eyes and see, yes, this person really cares?
Yeah. I have a student, Dr. Drew Brazier. He came into my world to create professional video, as many people do, because it's one of the things that we do best. But he came into that world and he started doing a professional looking live video show every week. And he was having some good results, but he's in the health industry. And he one day finally heard me when I said the concept about live streams. I was actually talking to somebody else in our group coaching program. And he was like, for some reason, it just clicked in that moment for him. And he started going out and actually taking his audience on the ski slopes with him, on the trail runs with him. And he immediately, I am a horrible snapper. Immediately, it always comes out as a dud the first time. He brought in $7,000 in 1 week. and then brought in $30,000 in 1 week. This was with 2 different products, but he realized, oh, the reason I'm able to do this is because people are connecting with that. I'm talking about health. I'm taking them out on the health journey. And it's a really powerful thing. You talk about sales all the time. And so, what are we talking about with live video and sales, and how does it all mesh with this concept of connecting with people? Well, the idea is, let's say you have a product that you're going to be selling, a physical product, a course, whatever. So that's coming down the pipeline in 3 months, right? When you first have the idea for it, that's when you should be starting to talk about it. So this is what I call a concept of live for launches. It starts really early on in like a creation story mentality, and talking to them, just casual throwouts, right? While you're at dinner eating the most amazing chocolate cake or whatever, be like, you know what? And I had this amazing idea while I was sitting here drinking a glass of wine, blah, blah, blah. Or, maybe you don't feel like you can talk to them about something that's not fully fledged yet. I get that, but you should before it's fully ready. But you should be bringing them along. And at first, it's just casual throwout mentions. And then it gets deeper. And then you're like, oh, hey, guys, like, look, I have my whiteboard. This is what I'm kind of thinking. It probably won't be like this when it comes to the end. But just bring them along for that journey. And guess what? When you get to the sale, it's not a sale. You've done all the selling by having conversations with them at the very beginning. And you do this with live streams, with social media, like all the things, any kind of content that you're creating, and you just throw it out. It builds. It's a journey that they're on, and they feel so invested in it by the end, by the time that they're actually asked to buy, that there's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I love that, because again, selling shouldn't be hard. It should be simple. If you're having regular conversations with your audience, then it's not a case of, do I need to create a mammoth sales page and how many FAQs can I possibly shove in there? It's all about, okay, well, what did they really want to know? And is that on the page? And it's done. Your sale is made way before you put that page anywhere on the internet. And I think that's super, super important.
Speaking of that, of wanting to know what they want to know, or needing to know what they want to know, live is the most powerful way I have found to actually figure that out. You can do surveys and you can ask, and all of that's important too, because it's a different type of knowledge. But with live video, you actually have a conversation with people, and they're more willing to talk, where they don't feel like they're filling out a survey, right?
It's instantaneous feedback. That's the great thing about live videos. You ask a question and somebody will give you an answer then and there, if not within like the first 24 hours of it being live. And I think that's really, really powerful for people. Everybody says, oh, but nobody wants to fill out a 15-minute survey. Well, no, nobody does. But if you're sat on a video and you're saying, hey, do you prefer green or blue? Or, do you want to talk about list building or content creation? People will give you an answer because they're there in that moment and they're thinking immediately about what do they want right now. And that's the most useful market research you can get.
1000%. Yeah.
I love that. So let's talk about business building here, because we're doing the 6-Figure Success series and we're talking and busting some of the myths behind you can only build your business one particular way. And live streaming is relatively new to the, I'm going to say new to the internet world. It's not new as in you've been doing it for 13 years, but for the average person, live streaming, exactly. It popped up when Facebook decided they were going to do it. Yeah, and that's basically how everyone thought about it. They're like, oh, cool, live video. Well, Facebook did it. So
thanks, Facebook.
Yay, Zuckerberg. Woo woo. So it's that kind of thing. So when it comes to building a business with live streaming, that is really interesting, because typically before we had Facebook Live, everyone was like, oh, well, you have to do a webinar. So you plan for 3 weeks to do your webinar, and then you do the webinar, and then after the webinar, you do all the stuff that goes after the webinar. That's not the case with live stream generally. It's not the case necessarily when you're building a business that's based on this concept of live streaming. and everyday selling effectively and teasing your audience and sharing the journey with them. But also not always the case with the professional type of live streaming that you were talking about with the professional setup, where it still is this idea of conversations and feedback from your audience. So why live streaming? Like, why did you choose that instead of going, I'll just record a bunch of videos and stick them on YouTube?
Well, to be fair, I use all the ways, actually. Not all the ways, but I do very strategically use recorded video alongside live video, alongside webinars. I do very well with webinars because I do them live, and I do them actually like I do my live shows where I'm on camera and switching between my slides, and right. So I see a 34% conversion rate consistently on my webinars. And it's not that live is the only choice that you make. If you choose to do live, you can. I would say that none of these things is your only path to success, right? It's like you could do just live, but it's actually going to benefit you if you have a more of a whole strategy, kind of a whole approach strategy, and you choose a couple things. Like, don't do all the things, but choose a couple of content pieces or marketing pieces that you can put into your strategy and work those together, right? So when it comes to building your business, live can be used a couple of different ways. One, it can be like your primary piece of content for lead generation, where you're doing a weekly or even a daily show. To be honest, daily grows way faster, but it's not for everybody because it's a whole lot of work, right? I mean, I did live daily for 9 months.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot of work. But, you can have that as your primary piece of content creation, which is your lead generation. And then you can pitch to a webinar, right? Or you can have them join a 3-part video series, or whichever kind of piece of that sale that you want, you can do that. Or live can be honestly a kind of just a connection point. We were talking about with the live streams, and you maybe use live video behind the paywall, and that gives them extra oomph to connect with you, right? Extra oomph on your sales page to be like, oh, well, I get to connect with her there. What? Cool, right? A little extra incentive, I guess the right word. So there are a couple of different ways to approach it from that perspective, where you can choose your path, right? There's no one way to accomplish anything. So what makes sense to you? And so what are and this is one of the things I love helping people do, is like backing it up. Like, okay, what are our goals here? What are we trying to accomplish? And let's make the right decisions, put the right combination of efforts together, because live shouldn't be alone. Webinars shouldn't be alone. Recorded YouTube videos shouldn't be alone. None of it should be alone, but you have to choose one primary source and then work the other stuff together with it.
I really like that, because I think sometimes we get so caught up in looking for the one thing. And, we do. We're like, oh, what's the magic pill going to be? And, a lot of the times people won't always tell you, well, it's not always just about the primary method. You've got to go and you've got to look at, okay, so if your primary method, for example, is like a more of a nurture tool, like a podcast, for example, then where's your traffic going to come from? Like, what's going to be your growth pattern? And, what's then going to be your sales tool? Is it going to be a webinar? Is it going to be your podcast? Is it going to be your live video? And I think it's actually really interesting for people to look at it like that, because then it means you can't get it wrong, right? If you're saying you pick your primary and then you have other things that feed in, there's no real way you can go wrong with this, because you're picking the thing that you enjoy, like your main content platform. And then you're saying, okay, well, the other bits are supplementary and they're designed to just help me get the traffic or help me get more sales or help me, make a more formal presentation or something.
Yeah, exactly. And like live in Facebook groups, for instance, if you have a Facebook group, that turns out to be very, very powerful for my students, and they see great results with that, right? So I look at there's the public part of live, and then there's the drop it down into, oh, we're connecting on a deeper level in like a group mentality. And then behind the paywall is even deeper, right? So if you kind of take that approach with live, you can kind of start to see, oh, well, I already have this thing built over here that's working really well. Let's not change gears or shift gears, because why would you do that? Let's add live. If you already have a Facebook group that's doing really well, let's add live into it at first, right? And then if that goes really well, let's maybe take it to the public once a week, or do an event, or while you're building up to a launch, do a 4-week promotional period where you're going live. I don't love the idea of people just doing live to promote products, by the way. I just have to put that out there because I see it too often. But, these are the stepping stones that you can start to take when it comes to using live, because it is, I believe, no matter what primary piece of content and marketing that you're doing, live can be a very good either supplemental or primary for you, whichever you choose. But yeah, like there's no going wrong when you build it to match you, to match your goals, to match what you've already done, and to match the lifestyle that you want. This is like, I'm so glad that you're doing this, because it's become I started a Facebook group and soon to be podcast called Uniquely You, because these are the things that are driving me absolutely batty, because I did the same thing. Like, yeah, it's not okay that we're all being pushed to do this and it's the only way. And you feel so caught up in it so constantly. It's just annoying.
I agree. I think there's just so much pressure. And I think when you're new as a business owner, I mean, I came into this space like 4 years ago, and there weren't that many Facebook groups. And I remember looking at some people and they had like 30,000 people in their Facebook group. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to get me one of those and I'm going to have 30,000 people in there. And then as time went by, and I was like, oh God, no, but like that's a lot of work. And do I really want that many people in? And how would I actually do that? And they have teams who can help manage, and I don't have that. And it became this thing that people then started, going through cyclical phases with what works. And we're going with the speech marks here, guys. What works and what doesn't, and for me, there's no real substitute to hard work and actually going with what you're passionate about. You choose your content platform, you choose your sales strategy, you choose your growth traffic strategy, and move forward from there. Because otherwise, all that happens is you end up inadvertently recreating somebody else's business. Like, how many people do you know who've been like, Marie Forleo's website is amazing, I want Marie Forleo's website. So do I, but it's never going to happen.
And guess what? You're not going to do it as well.
Exactly. And it wouldn't work even if you tried, because everyone would go, oh, look at that poor ripoff of Marie Forleo's website. Yes. So I think it's so important. And that's why I love what you talked about, Youpreneur, and what you've talked about today with live streaming, because it is so much about showing up and doing you, and being uniquely you, and understanding that actually it's kind of not about competing with what the big brands are doing with video, or even what, your competitor number one is doing with video. It's about getting out there and saying, okay, well, this is who I am, and I'm letting you in. So come and join the journey.
And it all goes hand in hand and ties in together with finding your unique avatar, right? You're not supposed to attract everybody.
Yeah.
You are not supposed to attract everybody, because just like finding your avatar, you aren't going to be able to attract everybody. Like you're not trying to target everybody. So with you being you, a lot of people are afraid that, you're going to piss people off, or that somebody's not going to like you because of XYZ. It's exactly the opposite. It's finding the people who are going to connect with you, because those are the only people you want. I just refunded somebody who was in my group because I was like, we're not meshing, right? I don't know how she joined or why or what, but she was not my customer, right? She was not supposed to be there. And, I am the one who presented the idea. I was like, look, I don't think this is right for you or for me. And so let's split ways here. And that has to be okay with you.
Yeah.
Because it drags everybody down. Everybody.
Exactly.
You, your emotions, them, their emotions, the people around you. It's not good. So it's okay being you and accepting. It's a hard thing for you to accept your flaws. And I talked about this on the stage at Youpreneur. But, you have to start to say, okay, what are the things that I don't like about me or that I feel embarrassed about. And that's when you know you have something that you should share. Ouch.
Oh, what a truth bomb. What a truth bomb. Seriously, thank you so much for today. Like, this is epic. And I have to go back and re-listen and be like, right, okay, let me find all my flaws and write them down, the big thing, and try to figure out how I'm going to use them for next year. I'm so excited about this. I'm like, honestly, guys, you can't see, but I'm really smiling thinking, great, well, what bad habits could I pick out now? But where can people find you? Because, you know, it's one of those things, when we connect with good people on the internet, we want to talk to them more. So where can people find out, or where can people just find you and get in your kind of live stream pro circle?
So I have a free video guide and a workbook, if you're the kind of workbook type, but that will help you understand how to approach content first and foremost, like what kind of content is right for you for live video. And by the way, it also applies to other stuff outside of live video, but you know, what kind of content, how should you approach it? How do you split things up and all of this stuff, right? So all of the content pieces of what you're doing, I will help you kind of work through that, but I will also help you understand the 4 pillars of live video, which is tech, because that trips everybody up. And then also, so the content, and then also audience, growth and engagement, and then monetization as well. So if you're interested in the content piece or any of that, head on over to livestreamingpros.com/content and we'll get you started down the path. And it's a lot of great free content for you.
I love that. I love that. Seriously, thank you so much. Today has been epic. And if you guys are interested in going out there and nailing live streams, or just improving on the ones you already have, want to get all of the content, tips, tricks, techniques, the monetization stuff, the audience engagement, and of course the tech bugbears sorted, then make sure you head over to livestreamingpros.com/content and you'll be able to grab all of the goodness from Luria herself. And if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure that you find both of us on social media and come and let us know. Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was interesting? And if you're really, really listening, what is your flaw? What are you going to start live streaming about? We would love to see.
Yes! I want to hear your flaws. Yes. I'll tell you all mine.
Taking over the internet. There should be a hashtag or something. All right, guys. And we will see you in Monday's episode. Have an epic weekend. And don't forget to go and make sure that you say hi to Luria and thank her for today's episode.